Welcome, everybody, to the 9th episode of the Hound's Tale podcast. I'm James Hudson, and joined with me, as always, Dylan Watson and Daniel Evans. Tonight, we have a special guest on the show. Steve Murphey is with us. He's a good friend of all of ours. I met Steve down at Java last year. We went down and judged a hunt for Brian Bell down there, and got to meet him down there and kind of get with him. And he taught me a lot of things out there judging as we went along. So that's kind of where me and him started as far as knowing each other, and kind of developed a friendship after that, and worked with each other. The puppies that me and Dylan have on the ground right now, they come out of his male, that LT dog that he has. It's a beautiful dog. So Steve, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. So Steve, you had a lot of success in the dog world, especially, inside the pens, inside the wires, and definitely on the bench. Kind of give us a little bit of a background on your success and kind of your life as far as the dog world goes.
Well, it kind of started off. I had some deerhounds, and I wanted to run them in the off season, so I made contact with some people that were running in some pens, and so I started just running them just to exercise them. And next thing you know, they're talking about entering them in a field trial, and so we entered a field trial and entered 3 dogs and placed 3 dogs in my first field trial, and it was pretty much done after that.
That seems to be a common census with most people.
I think you get pegged. They're like, he's a newbie.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
got to place his dogs. Don't forget, we need his money. We need his money.
It's another one we can trap.
Yep. But anyway, so that's kind of how that started. And as far as the benching goes, my first experience was down at Pools at the Virginia International, which is coming up next month. Which is that's a hunt and an open show, what they call an open show, which is one where you'll have strictly show dogs, and then you'll also have they have a running dog class, a show dog class or open class. They also do puppies, which are divided up all different types of ways. This year they're really pushing to get people to come. It's only $5 a puppy.
Oh wow!
To enter your puppy in the show. They just want to get people involved. That's how I first got started. I'm not going to name any names, but I got talked into showing my dog to up the numbers so that they could make a champion. They have to have a certain number of dogs showing in order to make a champion. And so I kind of got talked into it, and it was kind of the same thing. We my wife and I both, we placed dogs that day, and it was like, oh my goodness. I mean, next thing I know, like Monday afternoon, I get home from work, I'm building up a bench. I'm grabbing up scrap lumber I can find anywhere. I got to have a bench, and so that's kind of how
that. All ends.
Oh yeah, it caught hold pretty quick.
That's funny. It looks like your wife enjoys it a whole lot too.
Absolutely. I couldn't do it without her. She to be honest with you, she's the one that does, to be honest, the most of the work. She works with them when they're young, and gets them right, and then I kind of go from there. When we're showing, she will show dogs, and she has shown dogs, and she does very well in my opinion. But she, I don't know, she's a little shy sometimes, and she just doesn't.
Sounds a lot like your situation.
Well, the thing is, and I've told her this, and I'll go ahead and say this is for anybody. You go in there and you don't worry about everybody else. All it is you and your dog. That's all you got to worry about. And I've had, you get that focus in, and when you are showing, and you're going to be more in tune with the dog's going to be more in tune with you. Don't worry about what's going on around you. You go in there and it's just you and your dog, and don't worry about anything else. And I've preached that to my wife, and she's like, yeah. But,
I can relate to that one.
Yeah. I can see Tori being like that too, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've done the same thing when I showed Wishbone the first time.
Yeah.
Sitting there watching the show, it seems like it went by forever, but I'm actually showing the dog. It went by pretty quick, so I can relate.
talking about the being by it's just you and the dog. It really reminds me of walking your puppies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
And, you're out there in the woods with them. It's just you and them. Ain't
Yep.
nobody else around. You kind of make it your own
That's right.
world.
That's right.
I feel like if you can carry that over into that, man, that's
Yep.
that's pretty cool. So getting into the specs, and this is really why we have you on the show, because you have a lot of knowledge about the bench showing. This is the topic of this episode, I guess you would say, along with you being on here, is the bench show side.
Right.
You got a lot of knowledge about it. You've had a lot of success. And
Well, we've been fortunate. We and that's the way I'll put it. The first thing that I'll say, and this is something that anybody interested in showing their dogs, you got to get this, you got to understand this. And this is something that took me a long time to understand. So I'm giving everybody a fast forward because it'll make things a lot easier for you in the long run if you understand this. So when you enter your dog into a bench show or a hunt, for that matter, everyone already knows what you think of that dog. You think enough of that dog to paint a number on its side, to pay your money, put your money down, to travel, take off work, whatever it is you got to do. We already know, everybody knows what you think of your dog. This is the most wonderful dog that ever was.
Right.
And when you go to a bench show and you enter your dog, the same thing applies. Everyone knows this is your best dog. You're going to come in there with your best stuff, what you think is your best stuff. What you got to realize is it doesn't matter what you think.
Mm-hmm.
What you're doing when you enter your dog into a bench show, you are asking for someone else's opinion. And you have to take it as that. Everybody's got opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people like, spaghetti. Some people like
right.
pizza. I don't know, whatever. So everybody's got opinions, and bench show judges do too. The thing about it is you've asked for that opinion. So, and I was guilty of this just as bad as anybody else. I would maintain my composure in front of everybody, but as soon as I could get away and get my wife on the phone, I would let it fly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe, and I had to get myself together, and I had a lot of help from a lot of people that gave me advice along the way, and I want to share that with anybody that's willing to listen as well. So that's one of the reasons I agreed to come and talk about it. I'm no expert by any means, in anything. These are my opinions. So all that being said, it's a different world. You kind of different shows. A lot of shows they're different. So you go to a traditional 3-day hunt. Well, you're going to have some dogs in there that have really good conformation, which just means they've got the qualities and characteristics that bestow the top of the line of the breed.
Gotcha.
The whole reason for anything that we do is for the betterment of the breed. If you're not doing it for that, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I will say that.
Absolutely agree.
This is all about betterment of the breed. So, but you typically aren't going to find your straight show dogs, if you will, at those types of hunts. Just because, a lot of times they don't hold up. They're not as rugged. They don't, this dog might have beautiful feet, and you don't want him to splay his toes. You don't want him to break his toe. You don't want him to roll his ankles. You don't, all these things, because these are his attributes. And so so a lot of times you're not going to see dogs like that. But at these open shows, which, like I said, Virginia International, that's probably the closest one for us. Right here at Pools. It's awesome. I've been going. I'm on the board. It's a great hunt, and it's for anybody. Even if you don't have a dog, if you like dogs or anything, please come. And just spectate. They love visitors. It's a family event. Their food is there, and
always good.
It's a big time. Yeah. I understand Big Tim's providing lunch this year, so that's really, really good.
Right. See, I didn't know that there was, I had seen it talk about an open bench show, but I really didn't know what an open bench show was, to be honest with you. I had no idea that there was going to be dogs coming from God knows who knows where.
Yeah,
to just show.
There are, and there's the group of people that consistently show dogs is unfortunately getting smaller and smaller. People have gotten older. We've lost some of the older ones. So that's one of the things. Another reason why I'm here. I really want to promote it because it's part of it. And a guy told me a long time ago, they're like, I'm not going to show my dog. Well, why not? That's part of your entry fee. You already paid it. Why not? You're here. Show your dog.
Yeah, I agree.
Go up there and
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, and now when you talk about puppies being shown, about what age is that? The same as running dogs? Is that a year and less puppies, or
different shows break it down different ways. And Virginia International, and I might be wrong on this exactly, but from what I'm understanding this year, there's going to be like a 0 to 6 months to a year, or it may even be broken down smaller than that.
Okay.
Depending on what's there.
Right.
And they can make a fly move if we've got more 7-month-old puppies than anything else or something like that. So,
gotcha.
So they are definitely trying to promote showing the puppies more this year. That's one of the big things.
Yeah, I seen that, and I was curious about it because, like I said, we got young puppies. I don't know if they'll quite be ready or not, but it'd be something to work towards. Absolutely, if they're doing that young, something like that would be really fun to kind of work to, and drag them down there, and bring them on down and get them used to being around all the rest of them. So. That's pretty neat, and I know I'm pretty sure there's a couple child and kids handling classes going on too. So
yep, absolutely,
that's one of my favorite parts about the bench show side. I love seeing the kids out there and showing them. Half the time it's goofy and it's nothing really serious. Everybody gets a trophy kind of thing, but it's real cool to see the next generation of your dog hunters and show dogs coming up with these kids and stuff. So
that's right.
It's really neat seeing that kind of thing. One of the big things that we talked about, we won't quite get into that quite yet. As far as rules go in your bench show side, what are some of the more in tune rules on that? I know there's a bunch of rules. So what are some of the top priority rules and specs that they look for in a dog when it comes to a bench show?
Yeah, I'm gonna refer to. I got the Masters rule book here, and I got the Nationals rule book here as well. So I really wouldn't. It's more of a standard than a rule. They're both broken down, and as after looking at this, that they're actually broken down exactly the same, Masters or Nationals. So that'll make this easy. So anyway, It's a scale of points. So basically, with the head of a dog, you've got 20 points, which is divided down to the skull, the ears, the eyes, and the muzzle. For the body of a hound, there's 35 points. 5 for the neck, 15 for the chest and shoulders, and 15 for the back, loins, and ribs. Running gear is also 35 points, 10 for the forelegs, 10 for the hips, thighs, and hind legs, and 15 for the feet. Coat and tail is worth 10 points, 5 for the coat and 5 for the tail. So the way that the rules read, and I'm reading this directly, I did not memorize it. The skull should be for the skull. The skull should be fairly long, with the cranium broad and full, slightly domed, and occipital area adjoining the neck. The defects would be a flat skull, narrow across the top, or excess of dome. The ears set on moderately low and long, reaching when drawn out nearly to the tip of the nose, fine in texture, fairly broad, with almost entire absence of erectile power, just meaning they droop. They don't try to perk up,
Gotcha.
like a German Shepherd or
Right.
something like that. So
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
the defects would be the ears would be short. They set up way high on the head, or the dog, if they make expressions on their face, if the ears go up the head, that would be considered a defect.
Huh. Okay.
So the eyes, large, set well apart, soft and hound-like, expression gentle and pleading, any color. Okay, defects would be eyes sharp and terrier-like, or prominent and protruding. The muzzle, fair length, straight and square cut. The stop, moderately defined. Defects would be a long muzzle, snipey, cut away decidedly below the eyes, or very short. Parrot mouth, which is going to be they've got an overbite.
Okay.
And that's one of the things you'll see. It's a big thing, and I'll touch on it right now since we're talking about it. You'll see the judge stick their thumb into a dog's mouth to see if it's got an overbite.
Huh.
It's called
Okay.
parrot mouth. That's a defect.
I've seen them do it, but I never really knew what they were checking for. I thought it was just kind of a teeth thing.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a defect, and it goes on. I'm not gonna read all of this, but it's pretty well spelled out. It's pretty well spelled out. So all that set aside, so we're just going to assume we all know, we've read this and we understand it. We got a grip on it. So let's just understand that. And I encourage anybody to get a copy of these rules and read them, because it's a lot of information in there.
Now, where's the best place to get these rule books?
I would get the one from the Chase. I would just order the one straight from the Chase. This Masters one, I don't know. I picked this up at a hunt somewhere. They had them laying out. So this one, I think I ordered from the Chase.
Okay, I got you.
Which is the Nationals, National, right from Chase Publishing. You can get a copy.
I've been meaning to do that my own self and get a copy.
That's good to have for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, well, just to touch back, and so that's touching about points. So that's math, and so all of those points add up to 100.
Right.
Okay. So, the thing about those points is I'm gonna go back to somebody's opinion on how many points. I mean, some of this stuff is obvious as far as like a parrot mouth. That's obvious. So that's going to be a defect. That's going to take away from the mouth, the muzzle.
Right.
So as you go along as a judge, and I have had the privilege of judging lots of mint shows. I've made several champions while judging.
Gotcha.
And I've enjoyed doing it. I love doing it. I'm going to judge the James River coming up.
Okay.
Memorial Day weekend. So.
I got you.
Anyway, all that being said, you kind of try to make a mental note of the dogs. Sometimes you'll have a dog that stands out by itself. A lot of times that will happen. Mm-hmm. So you kind of try to pay attention to some of the other dogs, and this one's going to probably be in the mix. I'm near the top possibly, and so you kind of try to pick the rest of them from there.
I've noticed that when you get there and they do the walk around, it seems like the ones that go up to the front benches when they get chosen don't really get a whole lot of attention on the walk around.
After that,
right. It's just, all right, that dog's obviously a beautiful dog. It's got a lot of everything that we're looking for. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's like they really focus on that beginning part on the 5th through 10th kind of dogs to see where it's going to kind of, for lack of terms, who's going to bring up the back of the top 10.
Right. The thing, and I'll touch on that too, about the walkthrough. So what the judges are doing during the walkthrough, there'll be the master of hounds, and then there'll be the ringmaster. So those are the two people. So what they're going around like in the male class, for instance, they're going to go around. They're going to make sure that all the males have 2 testicles.
I found that out the hard way.
I actually did too. Interestingly enough, showing a puppy, and it was at Virginia International several years ago. But anyway, they're going to check the length of the tail. They're going to check to see if they have parrot mouth. I mean, a lot of that's just one of the things you'll see them pull the gum up and stick their thumb in, and they're going to check for that. They're going to check their ears. They're going to pull the ears up and make sure the ears are touching the black in their nose. So those are the particulars. So after that, once they go through that, they're also, you're looking and trying to, that's, this one looks nice and this one doesn't. And blah, 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 blah. So you kind of whittle it down from there.
Gotcha. and then it could be. Now I don't know about the open bench shows, but the ones that during hunts. That's all I've ever been to. I've been to I think 3 or 4 hunts maybe with bench shows, and it's always top 10. Is it always top 10 that get shown after the walk around, or do they break it down further on these open shows?
No. It's only the 10. So you're gonna have Derby males, which are under 2 years old. You'll have Derby females, which are also under 2, and then you've got all age males, all age females. So that's it. Those are the only classes. And no, it does not. That 10, that's it.
Right. So after the bench show is when they really get into the finer details of each hound.
Absolutely.
When you said you've judged before and stuff like that. When you get to that point, what do you start looking for after you've kind of gone through the basics? What makes a dog stand out above the rest of them?
You start looking for faults.
Gotcha.
There is no perfect hound. Understand that too.
Right.
All dogs have
against
faults.
Everybody's contrary belief about their own, right?
Absolutely, and I'm guilty of that as well. So, at any rate, they've all got faults. Some of them stand out more than others. Some faults that the handlers can hide. One of the dog I've had the most success with, she's got one main fault, but nobody knows what it is.
You're not going to tell us either.
And it's just I was taught how to hide that.
That's
fault.
Right.
So it's kind of that sort of thing.
Right. That's kind of neat hearing that though, that you can kind of do certain things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
right.
That's interesting. Yeah. Now I noticed, we were at Tar River a few weeks ago, and there was 2 dogs on the bench, and these 2 dogs were, you can both of them any given day could have beat each other. I mean, it was just 2 beautiful hounds, and we were sitting there looking and not knowing a whole lot about it. And me and Daniel and Dylan are there, and we were sitting there looking, and we're like, all right, that dog right there is going to take it. It's beautiful. The stance is nice and blah, blah.
Right.
And then next thing I know, they switched first and second, and that dog got second.
Right.
So I went up and asked. It was James Ray down there at Tar River judging,
mm-hmm.
and I asked him and the guy helping him, who said the ringmaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I was just curious. I walked up to him and I asked him, and I said, what was the difference? What made that dog beat? And it was actually in that one, it was the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
It was a toned, built dog. That dog had more of a how did he describe it? He used a word that was great, but it was more of a cut, I guess it would say. The dog was really just, you could tell it was ran. It had that
muscle,
look.
muscle mass.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
Well, and the tone. A lot of times you'll see the judges squeezing their hams on the back, and some dogs. It's just like our forearms. Some people have bigger forearms than others, and some are hard and some are mushy. But it's kind of like that. So a lot of times, I'll be honest. It comes down. You get dogs that close. I've witnessed it before. This dog won because its toenails were cut, and this dog came in second because they weren't.
No kidding.
Sometimes it's that simple.
Golly. Just imagine losing something like that.
I lost because I didn't clip my dog's toenail.
Right. Sometimes, and as a judge, when it's that tight, you're looking, you're dying to find something so you can make a call.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess if it is that close, you got to pick that one thing and get into it.
Yep. And over the years, I've had a lot of help from a lot of people that are a whole lot better at it than I am. But talking with judges and things, and that's one of the things that that you try to talk with them, and they've all been real helpful in saying, hey, next time make sure you cut those toenails, or brush that thing out, take that collar off. It looks like the dog's been wearing a collar, everywhere. So, you just brush it out. So it's not that collar mark. So the dog looks more sleek and smooth, or, touch those numbers up, make the dog, looking sharp,
Yeah. I was curious about that. Do the numbers in the die, does that job come into play?
As the points go, no.
Okay.
But as an opinion goes, how couldn't it?
Right. Right. Right.
So
I was dying mine for this hunt this coming up weekend and down at pools, and I was like, and a lot of times I get a little sloppy with it. It's just a whole lot easier to put a pair of gloves on and do it. And this time I actually took a paintbrush and made those edges sharp. I really tried to make those edges real sharp because I got a jip that I'm gonna put in and see how she, makes it and see what she does. And I was curious about it. I didn't know, kind of like you said, I didn't figure it had a huge effect, but at the same time, it's kind of like a house without painted shutters.
That's right.
The house is beautiful, but if the shutters make it look stupid,
You bring a dog in that's still got mud on it from the hunt, and, the numbers all disheveled, and it's obviously, even though it may have beautiful conformation,
right?
You need to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's a pretty good little touch on the rules and stuff, and really kind of how it gets scored. We could probably spend another 20-30 minutes talking about as far as the hunt goes. Now, I know I will touch on this before we get into some of our other questions. In your HGA hunts, kind of explain. There's a combination winner. Now the bench show kind of works towards the combination winner, correct?
Well, yeah. So basically, the combination winner will have scored in the top 4 in its class on the bench.
Okay, gotcha. Top 4.
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't know it was just top 4.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. So it would be. So if I think the litter mate to one of my dogs, I think he was second in HGA points as far as running points, and he was 3rd or 4th, I think, on the bench. And he made
combination.
He made combination winner. He was combination winner for that hunt.
That's right.
So you don't necessarily have to win the hunt or win the bench. If you're the highest in both of all the dogs in the top 4 on the bench, then
that's right.
You're a combination winner.
That's exactly right.
I got you. Okay.
And then you'll have the lucky few that make dual champions.
Right.
So they've won the bench show and they won the hunt.
I'm trying to put that in front of one of our dogs' name right there. So, we've been talking, we got some puppies, and you've mentioned one or a couple of them have good conformation. I really wanted to touch on that word. Anytime you talk to anybody that's doing anything in the bench show world and has a lot of knowledge about it, it seems like that conformation word comes up a whole lot. What exactly is conformation to you?
I'll give you my opinion, and this is just my opinion. I certainly can't say I'm stating facts, but,
right?
It's obviously it's the way the dog looks. If the dog's not, you'll see a gangly-legged puppy with the legs are too long for the puppy; they're still growing into them, and things like that. Or you can see one that's got some kind of an obvious defect, a really short tail, or something like that. But you want to look at one that's got that's not barrel chested, got a big round chest on them. You want one that has a deep, breathy chest, as they say, suitable for the breed for them to breathe. So that's part of it. With puppies and whatnot, you just kind of you look at them and can tell their angulation, their natural way they stand. They change a lot,
right? So
they very quickly, as you know. So they those things can change very quickly,
right? Yeah, I know that the male out of our litter that you have, Dylan, it really liked to lean, like he never liked to keep his. Before you got him, and we took him away from his mom and stuff like that. That dog's back legs were really far back. He didn't like to tuck them. I'm not saying you got to tuck them real far, but he didn't like to keep them at a real good angle.
Right.
It's like he wanted to look like he was skiing, doing one of the lewd shoots or whatever.
Right.
Well, and then I think you've got him a whole lot better now. He's changed and really stands nice.
Well, that's part of the conformation too. The way the angulation of their legs, their rear legs in particular, and the front legs in relation to their chest. So that's definitely a big part of the conformation. And this is one of the things I will refer back to the rule book here. We're talking about height of a dog, for instance. I had a dog who he doesn't live, he's retired to Florida, but he's multiple time bench champion. And he didn't apply to this one. They brought the tape line out on him. He was so tall.
Wow.
But the height for a male should not be under 22 inches and not over 26 inches. And that the females should not be under 21 inches or over 25 inches. And that basically is the measurement is across the back at the point of the withers, which is kind of at the center of their shoulder in a way.
Okay, front shoulder, yeah.
While the hound is standing in a natural position with his feet up well under him. So that's definitely part of it. The coat on them, you don't want some, German Shepherd looking furry dog up there. That coat's gonna not.
Right.
You don't want a short tail. You don't want a teapot tail where the tail comes up and flattens out. You want a nice round hook with a nice flag where that's the hair, the flag is where the hair flips off the back of the tail. You want a nice flag on their tail. Any kind of like flat feet, and you'll see that on a lot of running dogs, dogs that run hard. I mean, it flattens their feet out. There's no question about it. A lot of folks that, in order for your show dog, in national rules and masters too, you have to cast your dog. So a lot of people with true show dogs that they really don't want to,
right?
Because it's going. But that's the only way you can make them a champion. You have to cast them. Again, I'll refer back to one of mine. That's the one I've had the best luck with. She will not run.
Right.
She will not run.
Yeah.
She will not run.
Right.
A fox could run right up to her and she would just be like, whatever.
Right.
She will not run. But I've had to cast her, and she does okay, and it's fine. So the thing is that unfortunately there's not as many open shows that we could take dogs like that, so that we're not taking up spots from hunters with running dogs.
Right.
And unfortunately, and I do feel that way, because that's what it comes down to a lot. But people with running dogs got to understand, just like the people with the show dogs, you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
And that's the only way that you can forward your dog.
Yeah.
So hopefully, and if we get a lot more interest and things keep picking up, there'll be a lot more of these open shows, and there won't be this conflict.
Right.
So
I've noticed, especially in the chase looks like they really focus on a lot of the open, and as far as their magazine goes,
right?
Reading the magazine
right.
and getting the pictures and stuff like that.
Well, that's one of the families that's been big in it for a long time.
I got you.
Yeah,
I know.
Absolutely.
There's a lady. It looks like she's in there. I don't remember her name, but she's got a beautiful, looks like a light brown red dog, and I swear she looks like she's won a bench show almost every time you see it pop the magazine open. And this dog, I think she probably touches it one or two times from the pictures, and it just stands. It's a beautiful hound.
Yeah.
So it's neat hearing the difference in the open and the the regular bench shows and stuff like that, the running bench shows, I guess you'd call it. But that's So other than confirmation, is there any other? Well, I guess confirmation kind of touches on anything, but what are, I guess here's a better way to put it, what are some of the traits? What are your favorite traits that you look for? Like what what makes a dog stand out more than anything to you than the rest of
it? The dog has to be trainable.
Okay, makes sense.
That's the biggest.
Yeah,
biggest thing. You've got to be trainable.
That makes a lot of sense. I got even on that, talking about the male and the female that I have, the two puppies. That male, I can sit there and he's a little testy at first. He likes to. He's only 2.5 months old. He'll be 3 months on the 20th, but he likes to turn his head a little bit. But I can kind of touch him a little bit and move his head back over, and he'll kind of get back into focus a little bit. He's still young. He's not going to be the most focus in the world, but he looks like he's going to be fairly easy to handle. Now that Jip, that's a whole nother ball game. You might as well tie a rabid coon to the end of a rope and see if you can hang on as long. She has nothing to do with it. I can get her to stand every now and then. I can get her, if I can pull her away from everything and just teach her this is what you're supposed to do, she'll go ahead and do it. But if there's something else going on, if there's a butterfly that flies by, that girl just it's just all over the place.
That brings up another thing, and it's some advice that was given to me, and I'll bring it up and pass it on. So when you showing your dog and training your dog, when you're working on showing, you want to put the dog in the most you want to have as much commotion going on as possible,
right?
So that they get used to that. And what happens, and I'll touch back on what I said earlier on, is it's just you and your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the dog gets the dog is just like it's just me and my owner.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
the dog is focused as well,
right? Because there's a lot of commotion going on at these bench shows.
Absolutely,
there's usually 100 plus people standing around,
absolutely,
and 30 or 40 other dogs in that circle.
Absolutely, and and people talking, and
right.
And kids playing, and as it should be, it's fun, But your dog's got to be able to get that dog to focus,
right,
which is tough.
So, one question I thought about is how young would you start working with a puppy?
Well, we start them, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of reasons. Just we love puppies, and so we want to go out there and mess with them anyway. So we go and just start messing with them, and not for very long because they have no attention span whatsoever. And it's more of a playtime. I wouldn't recommend any hardcore 10, 15 minutes or something. I mean, 5 minutes and then let them down. You're just getting them used to being touched. And, one of the things my wife preaches is she always plays with their feet, to get them to where they're used to being able to cut their toenails.
Right.
So you don't lose a bench
Right.
show because you didn't cut their toenails. So they'll get used to you cutting their toenails and playing with their feet and moving their feet and just, making corrections on them. And that's the key thing that I was taught, and the key thing to it is you got to do it every day. If you do it every day, you're probably going to have very favorable results. And it doesn't have to be for an hour or 2 hours or anything like that. And I wouldn't recommend doing it that long. The dog's going to, it's going to be a chore. I've got some now that's that they want to stand pretty. They're like, look at me. And they've just gotten used to that. But I wouldn't say it's too young to start them. I mean, obviously, you want them up walking, their eyes open and whatnot.
Right.
So, but other than that, there is no too young. The thing is the consistency. And that's the one key that I was told when I started, and that was the main one that's paid off.
And that's hard too.
Oh, it is.
It is. Yep. It's that kind of goes back to a lot of the topics that we talk about. Is these dogs are nothing easy. There's nothing easy about getting and making a bench champion. If that's what you're into, it's just as hard.
Well, it's and we don't have free weekends. We don't I don't get to go to the beach with my family. We don't go to Disney World. We don't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We just it's a part of life. And my wife has said it many times. This hound life ain't for sissies.
No.
You're either all in or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely got to have the support from the other side too of the relationship. Yep. A lot of times, if that's not there, it can be a real pain in the butt.
Absolutely.
All right, my biggest question that kind of flows along with this is leash training. How young would you start them off? And I know it's probably one of the most heartbreaking training methods, but how would you go about doing it?
You want to start off with young puppies with collars and getting them used to the collar. And that sometimes can be a challenge. They like to chew them off of each other and all kind of stuff like that. But, once the dog is, I wouldn't recommend trying to put a lead on a puppy. They need to have some weight on them, some size on them. But some of them will take to it and some of them don't. Some of them hate it. They think you're just like you're trying to kill them. And the only thing that's worked for me, and I've heard this because I asked the same question long ago. A lot of times what I'll do is, you'll find a low tree branch and tie them hook them to the collar and hook it to the branch. And the reason you use the branch is because it'll give, so it's not rigid. They're not going to break their neck because they're going to run to the end of that rope. And on the tree branch, they kind of swing up off the ground, and then they'll turn around, they'll come back, and they'll run back through, and they'll swing up off the ground. And the best thing to do is just go inside. Just go in the house because you don't want to hear and see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The dog doesn't like it, but typically it doesn't take very long. You want to obviously make sure you've got it set up to where you can't get hung up,
Right.
On anything. But that's an extreme case.
I know I've gotten one. I put him on the lead 3 times now, and he's pretty well managed for as young as he is.
Right.
My other one, you might as well be trying to hold on to a bucking bronco.
Yep.
But we've just kind of put him on the lead for 5-10 minutes and just kind of tried to
That's
walk
right.
him around.
That's the thing, just consistency and keep working with them. The one thing I'll do, this is any kind of dog with leash training. If the dog starts to pull on the lead, stop moving. You stop walking. If you're pulling on the lead, we're not going anymore. Until you let off that lead, I'm not going to move. Mm-hmm. And they'll get used to it. They're that's just a key thing. I've had them before, just like you were saying. It's like tying a string to a June bug, and this thing's just flying around. I mean, it's like, oh my Lord, and it's just like it's a battle. It becomes a battle of the wills, is what it is, really.
No, I mean, I've heard other suggestions on lead training. Like instead of letting your dog in front of you, keep him beside you.
That's right.
Is that a major?
Well, that's called healing. Where the dog space is to be here. Typically, they'll be able to glance up at you to see any commands or anything you're giving them with your face or your hands, nonverbal commands. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things. One of my dogs, my show dog, again, she doesn't hunt, but I don't need a lead on her. She'll walk right beside me. She knows heel. This, that, and other. I typically don't even have to touch her.
Wow.
I'll tap the bench and tell her mount. She'll mount the bench. I may make a few adjustments for her, and that's it.
That's goals right there.
Well,
that's goals.
It's just time. That's how much time do you want to spend?
Right. Right.
Training her, and that's impressive.
Yeah.
You see someone come in, there's no collar on the dog, there's no lead on the dog. The handler has full control of the dog.
Right.
It's by far impressive.
The dog going to be put up on a bench. Just don't even worry about it, but running around. just going up. I've got a question for you. This one's kind of not necessarily off topic, but kind of a little more relaxed question. What's, out of all the dogs that you've had, bench show wise, we'll focus on that since that's really been what we've been talking about. What's your favorite one? What's one the one that you're the most proud of, that you're you're just absolute downright favorite?
Oh, that's tough.
Everybody loves
tough.
Yeah, we try to throw a tough one in there.
I mean, I guess
I say a more relaxed question, but I think this one's going to hit you the hardest.
I mean, I guess the first champion, the first dog I made champion was Bailey, she's show blood. She is and then we've had a couple of litters off of her that have done pretty well. And still some on the ground now, some young ones.
I got one my own self.
Yeah, so
yeah.
They're doing okay. So I don't know. That's definitely a favorite. My LT dog. He's just a big, beautiful hound, and he did really, really well showing and in the field. Closest we ever came to winning a field trial. But he always would show up on the bench.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that story a few times. So.
Yeah.
It's a heartbreak, man.
Oh Lord,
that's a heartbreak.
You ain't kidding. But the thing is, and that's the thing, just you got to take your feelings out of it, because otherwise you're gonna go around with hurt feelings all the time.
Yeah. Now, I'll kind of throw an extra one in there. I just kind of crossed my mind. How hard is it to make the dual champion? like you said, there's a lot of things that a running hound that's going to be, for lack of term, balls to the wall, and a good running dog. There's a lot of traits that, as far as the bench go, it kind of makes things kind of get a little deformed.
Well, absolutely. The hard run is detrimental to them for sure, for their feet and whatnot. So I mean, it's a small window of opportunity, really. To be honest, it's a small window.
Does it seem easier to become a dual champion as a derby dog because the long-term muscle effects haven't taken their toll on the body, or
haven't never made a dual champion.
Right.
I can't really say on that, but from being around, I don't know, it's fairly equal. I don't think derby all age really would come into play.
I got you.
Too bad, too much.
I got you.
And now another question I thought of, as far as like some people that say they don't have puppies, say they just have all age dogs and want to get into the bench part. Would there be any tips for an older dog that you wouldn't do for, say, a puppy, to try and get them on the bench?
Again, the main thing is consistency. I mean, that's the whole key. Every day, maybe at the same time, if you can do that. Not everybody can, but we like to keep our dogs on a schedule, and that's more probably me. But anyway, just the consistency. That's the main thing. Walk them around, get them used to being on the lead, get them to, make them proud of themselves. Tell them they're pretty. They react to that.
Yeah. That dog I just got, the one that's out of your dog, she, the guy I got her from, I don't know that he did a whole lot of work with her on the bench. I don't think he really focuses on the bench, but
right.
When I got her and brought her home, I really played with her, got her used to me. And the first time I put her up on the bench, she was a little shaky. She was, okay, I don't know this guy. I don't know where I'm at. I don't necessarily know about this whole being up high thing. And after a few weeks of having her and working with her as much as possible, I mean, Daniel, you come over to the lot almost every day, and I'm all the time out there with her. At least either if I can't have time to get her up on the bench and really practice with her, I at least put my hands on her and get her to stay still and work with me.
Right.
And now she's sitting, actually, I think, pretty decent. I sent you a picture of her the other day, and I think, to me, not knowing a whole lot, I think she looks pretty decent. So
she looks an awful lot like her mama.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, see, I just picked up a dog. I don't know if Dennis told you. Georgia. You remember Georgia?
I do.
I have Georgia.
Yeah, I did hear that. I'm glad she's back in the neighborhood.
She is, on my part, now this is opinion, I think she's a gorgeous dog.
Right.
I've started working with her a little bit, and she's been doing a little bit better as I work with her, and I'm gonna start trying to throw her up on the bench and see what she can do. But I've noticed more. I've worked with her and talked to her, and I can walk in there now, and it's almost like she wants to shake hands. She's like, "Hey, I'm here today."
Dogs are creatures of habit, and you do things regularly over and again. They're looking forward to it. They know it's our playtime, or it's time to eat, or whatever.
Right.
So I'm gonna go the opposite way. What would be some good tips and stuff for training a pup? Others, getting stance.
You want to get them and get them used to playing with their feet again, and moving their feet around, and getting them to stand and getting them to focus. You don't want to be too rough with a puppy, obviously, and you don't want to do it too long. The younger the dog, with the shorter amount of time I think is probably a good rule of thumb. As they get older, spend a little more time. As they progress, spend a little more time. So other than that, the main thing I'm gonna stress, and I know I keep repeating it, but every day, that's the key. That is the key.
What are some of the things that you would try to get as far as their them leaning forward and getting their tail up properly? What is some of that?
Well, there's lots of tricks of the trade. I'm not really going to divulge a lot of them here because a lot of those are opinion, and some things work for some people and some don't. You guys we'll all be together this weekend at Maryland State, so we can go over some of that stuff one on one. Some of the stuff, and I definitely want to share with you, but it's not something that I'm comfortable saying, hey, this is what you should do, because it's just something that I do.
And every dog's different.
That's
too.
right.
Like
That's
you
right.
said.
That's right. That's right.
I just didn't. I was, I guess, more on a basic note.
Yeah, repetition, just repetition. Yeah, and if you can tell the dog's getting frustrated, just stop. Maybe give it an hour and try again, or wait till next day, or something like that. Just learn to read the dog and how it's reacting, and you can tell whether it's happy about it or not.
So it's been other things that we've heard, and then again, this is something different people do different things. So we've heard of raising their feet. So even if you're on a table, putting their feet on a small block, that kind of raises them.
Yeah,
for feet placement
For
tricks.
feet placement, yeah.
Yeah, I personally have never used that technique. I have heard about it, and I think it's more for, like you said, just for teaching them to, well, they use like soup cans or tuna cans or something like that. It just gives them your foot's supposed to be in this spot. My experience, I've got dogs that if I took her foot and moved it to where it wasn't supposed to be, she immediately will snap back like a rubber band.
Yeah, I got one like
that.
that.
Exactly. It's no, my foot doesn't go there; it goes here. So, and I'm not knocking that. I've just never used it, and it seems to me like it makes sense.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
I got lucky the other day, and I had one. I got a Gyp that does that, and she would, like you said, rubber band, right back. And I was taking it, and I had a lot of time that day, and I just kept her there. And every time she moved it, I moved it back. Probably after about, I'd say 15, 20 times of her moving it back, moving her placement, moving her, I finally got her to understand, like, you need to be sitting still.
Right.
It's time this is quote unquote work time.
Yeah.
And she finally, now she's getting to the point where she'll move it once or twice, but she's really starting to put it there and come back and really do good with it.
Yep.
Like you said, a repetition.
Yeah. And you'll see the results. I mean, it's the more time you put into it, the faster it can happen for you.
Right.
And not to say every dog is going to work out.
Yeah.
But most of them probably will.
Yeah. That's right.
At least you can have fun messing with them.
That's right. All right. Well, I think that kind of makes a pretty good little overview on the bench show stuff. We touched on a lot of good things here, and definitely a lot of good insight. So we definitely appreciate you coming, Steve, and being on the show with us, and appreciate you letting us pick your brain for a little while.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, I'm not an expert by any means, and anything I've said is pretty much just my opinions and my experience. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's something I'd love to talk about anytime. So.
Oh yeah, and you're going to be down there at the pools with us on Friday night.
Yep.
So
Yep.
At the Maryland States this weekend, I know it looks like it's going to be one heck of a show.
Oh yeah, it's always a great hunt. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is my first real 3-day. I went to a 2-day last year, but I was kind of whatever about that one. I didn't really prep good for it, but I've been prepping for this one, and we've all been kind of prepping and ready for this one. So we're excited, and it looks like Missy and the whole Maryland State crew are going to be putting on a really beautiful show is what it looks like.
They do a good job. This being the 100th anniversary too is kind of a big deal. So
yeah. And I know she's taking pre-orders. I don't know if she's still taking them or not, but she's got shirts and hats and stuff like that.
Yep.
So if y'all are interested, get up with Missy and see about getting a shirt and a hat. I know I got me some ordered. So
absolutely.
But before we go, like I said, thanks again, Steve, for being on here. Kind of do a quick touch on a lot of the things that we really try to promote. First off, please go, if you're in Central Virginia, we're Tina at Chestnut Mountain Feed around the Concord area. They've always been good to us and really help us out a whole lot. So if you're looking for a good place to get dog food and good quality stuff, go take a visit to them. They also carry a lot of your field trialing supplies too. That's where I get my jackets and paint supplies and stuff like that from. So make sure and go down there and see them. Continue to follow us on Facebook. We do a lot of hit or miss topics during the week and try to keep and do a lot of involvement. We're working on trying to find some places to do some fundraiser stuff. We're kind of in the midst of talking about maybe a possible hunt in the future or something along those lines to either go back towards the field trial and dog hunting world, or maybe find another outside source that we want to donate to. But we're in the talks of doing a hunt through the Hound's Tales podcast name. So again, we'll be down there at Maryland this weekend. I'll be there all 3 days. I think Dale and Daniel are going to try to sneak down. They're judging down at Turpitz Creek, right, this weekend. So I think that's going to be a good hunt. Y'all come. But if y'all at Maryland or either one of those two places, y'all come see us, and we love talking, love meeting people. Also, check us out. If I know y'all listen to it now, but if you can follow us full time on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Breaker, and then of course, last but not least, Anchor. Y'all go on there and favorite the podcast and like it. The more views, the more better. We're hoping that we can build this thing and maybe eventually keep doing more and more for this the sport and the dog hunting community. So thank y'all for listening. We really enjoyed this one. A lot of fun. Y'all be sure to share it on Facebook, spread the word, keep listening. Thank y'all. And everybody out there, we'll go over the hunts and results from last week and upcoming hunts. Guest speakers, we're going to try not to step on too much time. We'd like to really focus on the speaker and what we got a topic going. So thank y'all for listening again, and everybody, good luck and happy hunting out there.